Right.
All set. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is the Economic Development Committee meeting here. It is February 16th, 2021, 10:30 a.m. Would like to open up this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If all could please carry on. Ready? I pledge allegiance
To
to the
the
flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
with liberty,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all. Thank you. All right, so, we have, we'd be nice. I should have asked Ellen to show up today, but like I mentioned, we don't have anything to vote on as far as I'm aware of. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't done so already, if you could complete the conflict of interest training. That's that video. If you haven't done it in the last 2 years, you have to do it again. If you have, then you're good to go. So yes, BJ.
Would I be looking for that from a certain email address? Like, who would that have come from?
I can resend the email.
If you wouldn't mind.
I'm sorry?
If you wouldn't mind, that would be great,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, I'll send it. I don't know if I can do it right now because I just got the reminder that I needed to do it and I completed it. Let me just see here. I can send it right now if I can get back over there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Apologize.
Does everybody need it again? Jason or no? Jason, you're good, right? I mean,
Yeah, I already did it.
you did it, so.
I think I already did it myself, but I don't know if it was within the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Let me just get this while I have it on my mind here. Yeah, I can't find it. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll find it. I save them all.
Yeah, I have it, but
I appreciate it. If somebody would just forward it to me, that'd be fine. It doesn't need to be right now, but I will look for it this
Yeah.
time and actually do it. So I'll add it to my to-do list, right, Todd?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's, it took me about an hour to do it, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more. But so I just wanted, before I got into it, and I forgot to mention that, I wanted to just remind folks if you haven't done it.
All right, I just sent it to you. You should have it.
All right. All right, thank you. So, just carrying on the agenda, it doesn't have to be a long meeting today, but I think, we're in the midst of that LRRP application and kind of at a holding pattern right now until we understand what the next steps are, so on and so forth. So with that said, what I'd like to do is ask Bill if he could give us an update on that, and then, we'll take it from there.
Well, Brian, I don't have anything to update you on. Haven't heard anything
Okay.
since the last correspondence I had with EDC. I'm not sure what's taking so long, but I would have expected we would have heard by now.
Okay. So all you know at this point is we're just waiting for the consultant that we're paired up with. That's
right. Yeah.
all right. All right. Well, we'll just continue to kind of hold and wait for next steps. Anything else, Bill, on anything else that's going on that you care to share with us?
Sure, Brian. On the economic development plan, Mark and I got together since the last meeting and went through the matrix of recommendations and identified who we thought would be the appropriate entities in town to work on those tasks. And I forwarded that up to Carrie at CMRPC. and sort of waiting for her to finalize the plan that matrix required, both Dudley and Webster to fill out their own sections. And so maybe she's waiting for Webster to finish their identification of who's responsible for the various tasks. But I'm expecting that should come back probably, well, soon, who knows. But then I brought that to the planning board last week because there are some zoning recommendations in the plan that would fall to the planning board. And I would say that they were very receptive to the idea of looking at the parking requirements, which the plan calls out as a weakness of the Dudley zoning bylaw, and ways to sort of be a little bit more specific about what's required, and perhaps not to over regulate parking in terms of requiring too much parking. So I think the board is willing to take a look at that task. The other major recommendation was to look at some of the zoning requirements, particularly in the area from the Webster line down through the Village Street and a little bit beyond that on West Main Street, to try to reconfigure the development pattern there to be more in keeping with what downtown Webster has, which is bringing buildings close to the streets, minimizing side yard setbacks, looking for more mixed use kinds of allowances for development. And I think the planning board was kind of lukewarm to that sort of concept. They felt the Dudley pattern is pretty well entrenched, and it would be difficult to sort of change things to the kind of pattern that Webster has. So I think we're going to hold off on that task right now. I'll continue to work with them on that and sort of discuss it some more and see whether there isn't some way we can implement some of those recommendations, but I think that would be a longer term idea. So so at least they're willing to look at the parking stuff, and I'll continue to work on that. There were a couple of other ongoing planning activities. The Americans with Disabilities Act study is almost complete. I've seen the draft final report. I had a few comments, so that's gone back for final revisions. There was a meeting with the Board of Selectmen on that plan. It was very well received. So that will set forth all the tasks the town has to do to come into compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. There are a lot of policy changes the town needs to make. There are a lot of physical improvements in various town buildings and recreation areas. So there's enough work there to keep the town busy for 5 or 10 years. But it's a good start, and it's very well done. It's very specific. And I think the town will be able to knock off a lot of those immediately, just because they're very low cost items. And the larger cost items will need to apply for grants over time. But I think it's all very doable. The third study is the Jericho-Brandon infrastructure plan. That too is winding down, and that also had a meeting with the Board of Selectmen, which was also very well received. Time Bond is the lead consultant on that plan. Unfortunately, identified a lot of deficiencies with the water, sewer, roads, drainage, sidewalks in those 2 neighborhoods in town. So it's going to be a very major cost to the town to bring those facilities up to current standards. It identified a number of target areas for improvements, which we're going to immediately pick a couple of those and start applying for grants, that because it's really big ticket items that would be very difficult for the town to afford. And then the last item is the Complete Streets program, which CMRPC is helping out with, and they're the lead consultant on the project. Gemma Wilkins from CMRPC made a presentation to the planning board at the last meeting, updating the board on the status of that plan. She's completed most of her field work already, identifying sidewalks and crosswalks and safety measures that can be implemented to try to make our streets more complete and more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. The board had a lot of input in at that meeting. They had a lot of ideas. We kind of ran on for a while. We eventually had to shut down the discussion because it was taking so long. But that's a good thing. The planning board is very committed to that study, and that has a time frame for completion in the spring sometime. What I'll do is I'll send you the PowerPoint presentation that Gemma made at the meeting, just so you can have a chance to look at it and get up to speed.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of planning activity going on here in town. We're trying to, keep up with it. So that's the current update on where we stand.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bill. Any questions, anybody for Bill? Or once I get that presentation, Bill, you can send it to the group, or you send it to me and I'll send it to the group.
Yeah, I can send it
So
to
we
the
can all
group.
get up. Yeah, thank you. No questions, I gather? Well, a lot going on, Bill.
I know.
Yeah, shaking. Yeah, no, that's great. I guess the one question I'd have that you didn't comment about is anything on the Camden Properties, Stevens Mills project?
No. As far as I know, Camden is still working on the financing. We haven't heard anything from them. We have sort of a monthly status call set up with them. So that'll happen at the end of the month. And I can report back to you the next meeting where that stands. As far as the Chase Mill and the marijuana
Yep.
facility that's proposed there, as far as I know, they're moving forward with their final license with the Cannabis Control Commission. I think their time frame is to get that sometime in the spring and then break ground in the summer. So I don't think there's anything changed there.
Yeah.
The only other thing that comes to mind is at the last town meeting, you may recall, Michaela Mann wanted to rezone property at 115 Schofield Ave.
Correct.
Came to the EDC and made a pitch for it, and then at the last minute, it got postponed at town meeting. So she wants to come back and rezone that property again. Her plan hasn't changed. She wants to use that building for a retail marijuana store, which is the zoning bylaw allows 2 retail operations. So she would be the second once the Chase Mill store opens up. So there is 1 license available. She would have to go to the Board of Selectmen for her host community agreement, go to the Cannabis Control Commission, go through that whole process. But she can't do any of that unless she gets the zoning change. So that's kind of the bottleneck at the moment. And so we'll see. I'm assuming that will come forward. Town meeting will be in May, and the town will have another chance to vote on that, whether they want that second retail store at that location. It also requires a special permit from the planning board. So there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
She seems prepared to go through all those various entities to get her approvals, but she's very committed to it. So I have no doubt she would be successful.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's only 2 licenses. It's kind of a coveted thing. So if she wants it, they're gonna have to go and get it all done. So, no, that's good. Then the last item, I think, question I would have is the last meeting we discussed the change of the agricultural hemp growing license that farm wanted to do. Has there been any movement on that in the town?
Yes, Mrs. Doherty and her husband Robert still intend to go forward with that. The thought would be to take her property on Corbin Road, and in order to allow that to go forward, the zoning has to be changed. She's in a Res 87 district, I think. And marijuana uses are only allowed in the industrial 130 and the mill overlay district.
Yeah,
So she needs zoning relief. The thought would be to create a new overlay district for her property that would allow outdoor cultivation. So she's intending to bring that forward to town meeting. I think they'll try growing hemp again this year because she just wouldn't have enough time to get the marijuana
Right.
crop in this year.
yeah,
She still need to go through the Cannabis Control Commission, host community agreement and all that kind of stuff. So, but if she can get the zoning change in May, then she can begin working on those other aspects. And probably by next year, she would be able to start growing marijuana outdoors. Under the state, excuse me, under the town bylaw, she's allowed to grow up to 60,000 square feet. So it's a little less than an acre and a half of land that she could devote to marijuana cultivation. So it wouldn't be a huge operation, and she has a lot of property up there. So it would be really not very visible, if at all, from the
Right.
road. And I don't think people would really notice it at all. So she'd have very low impact on the neighborhood if she's able to proceed.
okay. Okay. All right, any other questions from anybody else? No?
How did how'd that letter go that we sent out? You get any responses from that? That we sent to the area businesses about coming to the meetings?
I received one response. PJ, did you receive any other responses or?
My contact information wasn't on there. I did have some people who know me,
Right,
reach out, but they were asking more about the, because we had attached the information about that loan that was available.
The
So
grant?
I had the grant, thank you. I had people ask me about that. And
Yeah.
I just directed them back to the CMRPC, but no, I think Brian, yours was the contact information on there.
yeah, yeah, I
And I-
received one contact.
Yeah, and I thought about maybe just resending it out to the next group of people because I've had different lists. So I sent the first list and then we got another list with more people, but they all have emails. So maybe we'll just email it out to all of that next list again and
Okay.
hope to get, kind of a little fishing expedition a little bit, but we'll see if we can get a bite.
Yeah, that was gonna
that
be my
way.
next thought was maybe try an email instead, see if we get a different type of response. Or more.
Yeah, because I had a list from Carrie and then I think Bill, you had a list. And so, I picked one and gone with it. And then they were, I think, the people most recently who were members of the business association in town, I think. And then I still had extra letters. So I went back into that other more extensive list, which was people past. But I noticed everyone had an email address in there. So I can just blast it out to that email address if people are okay with me sending it from my personal account, or should that come from the town of Dudley, or any thoughts?
I mean, I don't have any issue, but Bill, any thoughts on?
All I would suggest is that it perhaps have an EDC letterhead on it, PJ, just so that people would
Right.
recognize it as coming from the town.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't see why, as a member of the EDC, you couldn't do it on your own, with the
Right,
committee's approval.
yeah,
Okay, I can do that. I'll
Yeah.
blast it out to that list. I can do that this week. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna try to relook at that letter, how it's written, and just from a call to action perspective, to try to avoid like the type of questioning I had with this woman that reached out to me. And again, yeah, I think it's kind of a, the way I perceive it, it's a way of just letting them know we're here and there's resources for them. It's not a requirement for them to come attend these meetings, but I think it's in their best interest. And after going back and forth with that woman 3 times, I mean, kind of trying to make that point to her. So I just take a reread and see if the letter just, I think it expresses just that, right? It expresses, it's not a requirement they have to come to these meetings, but it's there for them. We're here for them to hear what they have to say, how we can help them. And there are some resources that we're kind of guiding them to help them in these unusual times. So as long as the letter, strongly just kind of shows that that's the intention of the letter, I think it's there for its purpose. And it's just, it's up to the readers to understand that, by
Yeah.
reading it. So,
I'll proofread it again one more time. I know it was really meant to just be an open invitation, like we would love
Yeah.
to just hear from, but
yeah,
not as a consistent, like we need you at every meeting, but we had
Yeah.
also opened it up to say, look, we're also looking
Yeah.
for members. So,
yeah,
it kind of was supposed to be a 2-in-1, but I'll give it a once over before I send it back out if you'd like.
Yeah, just make sure that the message is loud and clear on the letter, and just some feedback from the minimal response I had, but just having to go back and forth and explain the letter, so just that's all I have for input on that. But
Yeah, I wish, certainly wish we weren't in the times we are, because I think just a face-to-face, like, hey, here's who we are,
yeah,
kind of a field trip out there in the
Right.
community would go an awful long way, but it's
Yeah.
just not really the time to do that. So,
right. Bill, what's going on at the town complex now, or is it everybody showing up to work normally, or rotating shift, or?
Yes, this week, we're all supposed to be working our normal schedules in the town hall now. So we were broken up into 2 groups working opposite days. So starting this week and continuing into next week, we would all be moving back to work together. The building will still be closed to the public, however.
Okay.
The town has a kiosk set up where materials can be dropped off and picked up, and you can still make appointments with staff if you need to come in and see somebody. And there would be a separate meeting location where you could do that. So we're still taking precautions, but I think with the easing of the pandemic numbers, I think we'll continue to gradually open up again back to a normal schedule. But I can't say when that would happen, but
Yeah.
the selectmen and the town administrator are monitoring that carefully.
Okay.
Brian, I did have one other thing I wanted to mention. In the economic development plan, it identifies various boards and committees in town who are responsible for implementation of some of those ideas, all under the umbrella of the EDC. So I think you might want to consider some outreach process to reach out to the other boards and individuals who have who've been identified to implement those recommendations and try to enlist their support. So I think maybe in the next meeting or 2, we should just think about how you want to enlist their help and how you want to sort of monitor their work and hold them accountable for what they're supposed to be doing. Because I think it's a very good plan, and obviously we want to be sure that after all that work, people take it seriously and start working on it to promote some new growth in town. So just sort of plant that seed for maybe the next meeting.
Okay. No, thanks for pointing that out. So just so I understand and refresh my memory, Bill, so you and Mark got together, looked at the action items, and kind of tried to determine where those action items would be best served in some other committees in the town. Is that point true?
Yeah, that's correct, right?
Okay. So then from there, is that list, I'm sorry, I know you gave me an update on that, but is that list fully complete and ready for, distribution, or?
Well, yeah, as I mentioned, Mark and I got together to put our heads together, and we filled it out and sent it up to CMRPC. I can send that out to you.
Oh, you're just waiting on Kerry. You're waiting on Kerry to kind of
for the
bless
final
it,
report, but I'll send you what I sent them, and so if anybody has any other thoughts, there's still time to get it back up to CMRPC before the report is finalized.
So I think that would be good, because once Kerry comes back with a final, blessing, that would say that the plan, there's no edits, there's no further edits to the plan, and then responsible parties for the action items have been defined. And at that point, we could distribute that to the appropriate committees in town
Right.
as sort of like a FYI, could you take a look at this? There seems to be some things here for you to, consider, if you could consider these things, right? Right, that kind of an approach. So, yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah, maybe by the next meeting, Kerry will, be having that wrapped up, and that'd be a good time to kind of kick that initiative off. Is that what
Mhm.
you're saying, Bill?
Right.
Okay.
And PJ, there are a lot of ideas in there to improve ties with Nichols College and harness the purchasing power of the university and get the students involved and that kind of thing. So hopefully you can figure out how to help improve ties between the town and the college to promote more growth in town.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, very good. All right, so anything else on anybody else's minds? We can have an open discussion, and then if we don't, anything else from anybody? I did connect Mark with the media department at Nichols, per the action item I had from the last meeting. So I've got those folks talking. I don't know anything else beyond that, other than they've connected, and so next meeting I assume we'll have some update from Mark on the video, the town videos. But that's the only additional item I have right now. So anything else from anybody else?
Brian, I would just mention, I had alluded before the meeting about the Small Business Administration's payroll protection program, PPP program. And I would just state that any small, medium-sized businesses out there, any business owners, that if they're struggling, or if they haven't, considered doing something like that, reach out to their own local bank or lender. At Hometown Bank, we've done a considerable amount of these and helped out an enormous amount of people that are struggling. And these are things where, provided that you follow a certain guidelines, you don't have to pay it back. And it's helped so many different types of businesses, whether it's somebody who's a sole proprietor, who does, a side job, or, somebody who's, a much larger operation. So if there's anybody that's listening to this, that's, wondering, there are ways to get money and get them quick. And I would just say to reach out to your local bank or lender, to explore that if you're sitting around wondering, how you're going to get through maybe to the summer. The new round, the tentative deadline to submit is March 31st. So, that's, who knows, they'll probably extend it because there's an enormous amount of funding still available with the Small Business Administration. So that's just one piece I'd like to mention, because it definitely can help a lot of businesses in the area.
Right.
Maybe we can add that into the email you're gonna send, PJ, about the PPP loans.
Yeah, that
Cool.
would be,
Actually,
Todd, maybe-
Todd, do you have a link that we could attach in that email?
that's what I just-
Bring them.
I think I do have something that I could send. I mean, our bank sent out links and things like that to our customers. It's pretty straightforward. If people want to do it themselves, it is very important. I mean, they have to apply with an SBA like lender. That's the only thing. They can't just apply for the PPP directly with the SBA.
There is an SBA site that gives information about it, though, correct?
SBA.gov, very
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
I got it.
We could do that. I could send something over to you, PJ.
That'd be great. Just a general link or something that I could put in there. That'd be good. Good idea,
And
Jason.
Todd, did they extend the idle funds too?
The what? Oh,
The
economic.
EIDL, yeah.
Yeah, the economic injury disaster loan. They are, I believe, they have, and they're, one of the new things that they did. I mean, a couple of different new things. One is before, if you were a recipient of not the loan, the EIDL loan, which is a very it's 3.75% fixed over 30 years. You apply directly at the SBA's website, but there is also an EIDL grant of $10,000. And at first, if you received any payroll protection program funding, they would deduct that 10,000 off of your, like, let's say you got 50,000 from the PPP, but you also got a $10,000 grant. They would deduct that, and your forgivable amount would be the $40,000. But now they've changed that. They're forgiving both. And right now, they've updated their forgiveness application for the PPP, which states any PPP loan, $150,000 or less. It's a very straightforward. It's like you attest that you use the monies appropriately, and that you will keep your financial records available for 4 years if the SBA ever asked you to provide, proof that you used it for minimum 60% for payroll. So it's streamlined the process just considerably. So, I can speak for only the bank that I work for. I mean, we have a very good system in place, but most of the smaller, SBA lenders are the same in regards to getting the money in the hands of the business owners very, very quickly. And that's something that, especially, folks that have been impacted dramatically, anybody in the restaurant business, this time around, you're allowed to calculate your average monthly payroll and multiply it by 3.5 times instead of 2.5 times from the first round. And there's other different, industries that have been impacted that are just, this is a lifeline to get them, hopefully, at least through the summer or until, the vast majority of the population is vaccinated. So, but yeah, I will send that link and some information over, EJ, because that's something that, we have literally, we've done, my bank has done, let me see, 75, almost over $100 million in PPP loans. And 80 something, I think it's almost 90% of them are small business loans. Like they're not over $150,000. So it's just it's a considerable amount of help to the small business infrastructure in our community. So I would highly recommend, again, any business owners out there, reach out to your local bank or your bank and see, if you haven't explored that option, definitely do so.
I'll put that in there for sure. That's great.
Yep, very, very important. So, well, that's good information, Todd, because I know some people that had questions, so that clarified some things for myself. Maybe I can help them guide what they need to be doing. So thank you. Well, anything else from anybody?
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. you're
Jason, I
welcome.
got that link, so thank you.
You're welcome.
So
Now I just gotta do it.
would anybody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we now adjourned at 11:04 a.m. on February 16, 2021. Thank you,
Thank you all.
everyone, and have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. Take
Yeah.
care. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.